Hi there. This is Elizabeth Veely from the Powerful Women Off the Record podcast. And today is my reflection on my conversation with Nancy Tucker. Nancy is the founder and CEO of Thelma and Louise Consulting, a human resource consulting firm based in Florida and New York. And, once again, just some really important information that, women, I think need to hear. There's a few things, that I kind of want to talk through today, but, I just want to go right at the big one where, Nancy was, in her own words, burning the candle at both ends and in the middle. And it's funny, that's a phrase, I heard a lot growing up from my mother to me. And it's just what we all do, right? Where we, as women, we just power up and we try to do it all with work and the kids and life and maybe places we volunteer at or elder care. It could be a million different things, but we just really hit the ground running, and that our body might start talking to us. And how many times have we talked about this right in the podcast? And I'm going to keep talking about it because it if we can again get one woman to listen to her body before it's got to become a crisis, that would be amazing. So Nancy talks about that, right? She talks about how she was just doing too much. She was blending a family. She had children of her own. She was an executive, in a large organization, and she didn't want to let anyone down. So what ends up happening is we let our body down, right? And then eventually her body just spoke up. And I think it's amazing that what ended up playing out is she would just faint. Her body just pulled the plug, right? The body's and the body's kind of beautiful like that, right? Where it's designed to protect us. It doesn't always feel like that, right? Like it can get frustrating, but pretty much everything the body's doing is for our survival, because it's told us, right, that something is not right and we keep doing it and, we move on. It's funny. I do think moms get some special dispensation from a higher power. I think about that a lot, where there's so many nights when I would crawl in the bed and I was like, how did I get that all done? Or somebody near me would be like, how did you get that all done? And I would just smile to myself. I'm like, I don't know. Somebody watches over moms and gives us that little extra oomph. Of course, all the way until we have a moment to breathe, and then it still catches up with us. But imagine your body loving you so much that it just pulls a plug and makes you faint. That's, and what a wake-up call. And I'm glad she listened to it. And, she had the courage to make a move then, right? And, sometimes the bravest and best leadership move you can make is leaving a company, is saying goodbye. I always highly, highly, highly recommend trying to talk to people first, within the organization to see if changes can be made. Give them a chance to see if they will and can make the changes that you might need in order for it to work better for you and your family and your life. So, if you're listening to me right now and you have something like that going on in your world, I am a really big advocate of doing that. In my career, I had a couple times where top performers left before talking to me, before giving me a chance to maybe advocate for them in a different way throughout the organization. And, if you're a top performer, the number one thing is become a top performer, right? You got to become a top performer. It solves so many things, because then people will fight for you and there'll be opportunities for you in other areas of the business. It's just rare to find somebody that is steadily performing, and the right company will do what it takes to keep you. And it's funny, when I look back on my career, I don't have many regrets. And I don't even want to call this one a regret, but there was a moment way back when, when I was in public accounting, that it was something similar. Things weren't working out for me in the way I wanted to grow and where I wanted to go with my career. And I made a move quickly. And then the people that had kind of mentored me within the organization came to me and said, is there anything we can do? Anything we can change? Gave me some suggestions of what we could change to, make it work for me. And I was too far gone, maybe I was too young. I don't know. But I couldn't envision how that would work. And I did end up leaving anyways. Listen, I don't like to think about things as regrets. But, there is those times when I'm like, I wonder what would have played out there. Like, that was definitely a different timeline that may have erupted. I've decided just to trust myself and whatever my instincts were in that moment. But it's a reflection, right? And so, I don't know. I guess that's why I give the women that I mentor that advice pretty, often, where if you still like what you do and you still actually like the organization, there's just something not working, give them a chance. Give them a chance to make a difference. And then if they don't step up, then make your move. And yeah, that can be one of the boldest leadership moves you make, is leaving. So I think it's great that Nancy did that. And I love that Nancy coaches other women around that too. It's great that she's in human resources. I love that she does consulting. The beauty of consulting is you work in many different companies, right? And so you get a lot of access to a lot of different people that you wouldn't otherwise. And so she gets to share those stories and her feedback and her empathy with other people that are coming up within the organization. So everything happens for a reason, right? And that's one of the things that Nancy had to go through in order to be able to, I guess, guide other women coming up and hopefully get ahead of this, right? Before your body has to do something dramatic. She mentions, the infamous saying of, put your own oxygen mask on before everybody else, right? So if you haven't heard that saying, I'm sure you have if you've been alive on this planet, but it's the concept that, especially as a mom needs to hear that. It's the concept that you have to take care of yourself first so that you can show up for everybody around you, your family, your company, whatever that might mean. And, it's fantastic that her son's a pilot, right? So it's so in her face. And that analogy does work, though. So that's why I'm bringing it up. I was like, should I bring that up? Everyone already knows that. But it sticks with you because it's really hard to get through to a mom that that's a real thing until you are sitting on that airplane and you actually have like a nice, thing you can play out in your head. And if, God forbid, something was happening, what would you do? And it is clear, right? If you're on an airplane and it's going down, you need to put your oxygen mask on first, and then you help everybody around you. And I don't know, I guess I'm just going to keep saying that analogy because it is so real and people can really relate to that. And it's not optional. How many times have I said that? Self-care is not optional. And I'm just going to keep saying it because we have this bad habit of thinking it is. And let's just keep beating that drum. It's not. You have to take care of yourself first. And I was just reading about one of the female Olympic winners, downhill. She's fantastic. I heard her in an interview and oh my God, it's like her chi is just exuding from her, and she was so smart and she's so sharp and she thinks so quickly. And, so I did a quick search, like how does she take care of herself? What is she doing? And of course, she does a lot of things. Number one, she's outdoors a lot, right? Because she's a downhill skier. So right there, she lives outdoors. But the other thing that I read is she makes it almost mandatory to sleep 10 hours a night. 10 hours a night. And I know that's hard to fathom for a lot of us. And she is an athlete, I get it. But, there is a lesson there where 10 is a lot different than 6 or whatever you're trying to, scrape by or all of that. So to me, I had to unwind that where when I was young, oh my gosh, yeah, I always slept in and I could really sleep. And then when I got older, I didn't prioritize it as much. And now I'm unwinding that. So if you can get to the point where you don't have to unwind it and you find your way to live your life and you honor that time of rest, it's hard to beat that. I mean, it goes into so many things, right? We've already talked about how the body needs that time to rest and recover. And it's not just being nice to your body, it's high performance, right? It's like when you weightlift, you take the rest day because the muscles need to rebuild. It's not being weak, it is just how it works. And so, let's stop glorifying getting little amounts of sleep and still functioning, and let's reverse it. And I think we should all be bragging about how much sleep we did get. Nancy, one of the things I love about Nancy is her road trip. So she takes a very long road trip once a year, sometimes alone, sometimes, with one of her friends. And I don't know if you've ever done that. I have taken a road trip by myself across the country, going from New York to Colorado many years ago. There is something really powerful about it. And I only did it once. I probably should do it again. But, back then though, I had a map, right? I had the paper map and a highlighter, and I would, make my routes. And then if I felt adventurous that day, right, I would get off the road and pick like the back roads, But man, the memories of that road trip for me, and I, believe it or not, I brought my 2 cats. And they were, would just relax in the car in their little crate. And then it was funny because whenever it would start getting dark out, they would come out, and sometimes they would just be all over me because they were telling me to stop and go get a hotel room and rest. And crazy memories of that, but really magical things happened on that trip. And so how powerful to do something like that, once a year. And then even if it's just something like getting away with your girlfriends, for a week or the weekend. And I'm a big fan of that. I think whether in a relationship or not, I think when each person gets that, time away with their friends, I think that can be really healthy and strong, and build the bond, back when you get back home, and it fills you up sometimes for a whole year, right? And then you're thinking about the next one, and so it's gonna hold you over. So, and I think the key was she was doing it by herself, right, or with a friend. She wasn't doing it with someone she had to take care of. And that's what I think we run into as parents, because we want to spend this quality time with our kids, right? And so we do a lot of trips together, and then maybe either we just can't fit in another one, or we've used all our PTO, or whatever that is. But, maybe it's something smaller. Maybe it's just getting away for a weekend. Maybe it's, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Artist's Way. But one of the things that they talk about there is dating yourself, and how, I think she calls it an artist's date. But, that basically once a week you are taking yourself out somewhere, and it could literally just be going to a coffee shop and sitting there and journaling or doing whatever you want, for that time away, or going shopping, but it's just you, right? And there's no one you need to take care of. And the point is that you're nurturing yourself, and you're kind of letting, that experience play out. And I love that. I do actually do that a lot, and I highly, highly recommend it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's time for you to go on a road trip, right? If you're thinking about it, maybe it's time. So Nancy talks about challenging her body, keeping it challenged, keeping it fit, and that is also critical, right? To clear your head and a lot of outdoor time. But as we get older, well, probably actually, and no matter what your age is, but definitely when you get older, you do have to start mixing up your workout a little bit just to keep challenging your body, because it will adjust, right? And you won't get the same results. And so we talk a lot about that, but there may be different workouts for different seasons of your life. And that's important. And it also could be fun, right? I mean, I got to be honest with you, I got a little frustrated with it at first, because I was like, why? Like around my mid 40s, I would say, everything that I had done up until that point that worked started to not work. And it was like so frustrating, because they were like good things, right? Like they were all things that were really good for me, and then my body had responded to, and then all of a sudden it didn't. And I took forever to adjust. Honestly, I'm probably still adjusting, to be completely honest, because it's like, oh, we figured this out. Like it's almost like when your kids go in different phases, like we were talking about at the last podcast. Like you just figure out that phase with your kids, and then they grow into the next phase, and you're like, oh, I just figured that one out. Like, can't we just like enjoy this space for a while? So I don't know. I guess I enjoyed it up until my 40s, and unfortunately, I can't be a role model for you on that right now, because I am still sorting that out to see what my body is going to respond with, and also find the time to dedicate to it, right? And before a 2x4 comes. So it's always about self-care, right? It's not selfish. It's about community and having your friends around you. And if you don't have friends, start making that a priority, like whether it's a vision board or however you manifest personally, make sure that's on it. Don't just assume it's going to happen. Like if you don't have that circle around you, you got to get it. And so you can make the best friend in the world, no matter your age or where you are in life. You will find your people, but I do think you have to state your intention that you're trying to find your people. And the pandemic didn't help with that, right? Where we all got isolated, and it was almost like a sorting hat, right? With which people you did end up reconnecting with. To me, that was the great sorting hat of Hogwarts, was that pandemic in so many ways, right? You learned probably so much about yourself. You learned so much about your neighbors. You learned so much about your family. And a lot of those relationships didn't survive that, I know. So I just think it's important that you find your community, you get outdoors. You just have to get outdoors. I just can't stress that enough. It was probably always like that, but it's so like that now, just because of all of our electronics and everything that we are surrounded by in our house. Like if there's one thing I'm going to ask of you, is try to get out and walk, and at least once a day, and then get to some trees, and a lot of trees at least once a week. Do some research on, I don't know what they're calling it now, like tree bathing. I don't know why we have to have a name for it, but there are some really cool studies on if you are amongst a lot of trees, so like you're in a woods or, a well-treed park, or your backyard if you've got a lot of trees. And you know what? I'll get the actual time you need to spend, but there's a certain amount of time. Let's say it was like an hour or two. If you stay an hour or two amongst those trees, just breathing, walking, talking, camping, whatever you're doing, it chemically changes your blood in a good way. And that change can actually last 5 to 7 days. Think about that. So you're talking about a walk on the weekend. You're talking about prioritizing going to a park or a woods or your backyard and walking around for a couple hours, And that may feed you for a week. I mean, we have no excuse, right? So maybe you don't want to be a tree hugger, or maybe you don't want to be telling people you're I think they call it tree bathing. I'm not sure. And I get it. I get why they're calling it, but I don't want you to be turned off with it because it has a name like that. So between that and then taking care of yourself, right, and getting enough rest. So, listen, once again, you are here for a reason. I really appreciate you supporting us, supporting this initiative, this project, hearing real women, successful women, impactful women, and, realizing you're not alone, realizing that it's not easy, realizing what we're all dealing with behind the scenes. We're not all, posting just the good parts. Just the great parts. I want everyone to understand we're human, and to be authentic, it's not going to be easy. There's stuff you're going through, and if you aren't, that's fantastic. You're probably not in a human body. Everyone's got their story. Everyone's got their journey. So I hope, my goal is that this podcast is someplace you can come to and listen to couple times a week and know that you're not alone, and you hear real women talking about their journey and how they worked through it. So hopefully I can be that for you. So once again, you've been listening to Powerful Women Off the Record podcast with Elizabeth Veely. Thanks for supporting us. If you like the episode, please like and follow. Maybe send it to another woman that could use some support right now. I would love that. And I'll see you next time.